The courtroom was unusually silent that morning. The audience whispered among themselves, glancing toward the plaintiff's side, a woman in her late 30s with sharp eyes, polished confidence, and a smirk that could slice through steel. Her name was Corinne Mullins, and today she wasn't coming in alone. Next to her sat a man in a slick gray suit, tall, self-assured, and with a briefcase too expensive for a small claims court. He kept his chin high, pretending not to notice the curious stares. His name tag read Richard Bell-esque. At least that's what he wanted everyone to believe. The entrance. Judge Judy entered with her usual energy, quick, firm steps, eyes sharper than a hawk's. The audience rose, then silence. "Be seated," she said, adjusting her glasses. Her gaze immediately locked onto Corinne and her lawyer. "All right," she began, flipping through the case file. "We have Mullins versus Harris. Plaintiff claims the defendant owes her $4,200 for property damage. Defendant disputes all claims. Let's get into it." Corinne leaned forward, her voice smooth as silk. "Yes, Your Honor, I was the victim of my neighbor's negligence. She destroyed my garden, damaged my fence, and—" Judge Judy interrupted. "I'll stop you right there. Who is the gentleman beside you?" Corinne smiled proudly. "This is my lawyer, Richard Bell. He'll be representing me." A faint chuckle rolled through the audience. Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. "Your lawyer," she repeated. "Yes, Your Honor," Corinne said, crossing her arms. "He's a licensed attorney. I wanted to make sure my case is handled professionally." Judge Judy didn't even blink. "Mr. Bell, where are you licensed to practice law?" Richard gave a charming smile, one rehearsed too many times. "New York State, Your Honor." Judy's head tilted slightly. "Oh, good, then you must be familiar with courtroom procedures." He nodded confidently. "Of course, ma'am, I've handled plenty of cases." A long pause. Judy's lips curled. "In this courtroom?" she asked. The man hesitated. Corinne quickly jumped in. "We're here for fairness, Your Honor. I just want justice." Judy raised a hand. "Ma'am, when I'm talking, you're not. I'm asking him a question." The audience fell quiet. A slight unease crept into the air. "The web of lies." Judge Judy flipped a page. "Mr. Bell, what bar association number are you registered under in New York?" The man blinked. I don't have that memorized." "You don't have your bar number memorized?" Judy asked, unimpressed. "Well, that's interesting, because every attorney I've ever met can recite it faster than their birthday." Corinne shifted in her seat. "Your Honor, he doesn't have to." Judy cut her off again. "Ma'am, you're not helping your case by interrupting me every 2 seconds." Richard coughed. "It's just that I didn't think I'd need that number today. We're here for small claims, not—" "Oh, but we are," Judy said with a razor-sharp smile. "And if you're claiming to be a lawyer, I need proof." She leaned back. "Do you have your bar card?" Silence. Corinne's confident smirk began to fade. "No," Judy pressed. "How about any documentation at all showing you're licensed to practice law?" Richard's hand hovered over his briefcase, pretending to search. "It's, probably at home." "Probably," Judy's tone cut through the air. "Do you realize impersonating an attorney is a crime in the state of California?" The man froze. The audience murmured. Corinne's lips tightened, but she tried to recover. "Your Honor, that's unnecessary. He's assisting me." "Assisting," Judy repeated. "So now he's not your lawyer." Corinne blinked rapidly. "I mean, he's giving advice." "Legal advice," Judy shot back. Corinne hesitated. "Yes, I mean no, just moral support." The courtroom erupted in a low laugh. Judy's gavel struck once. "Order." The turning point. Judge Judy looked straight at Corinne. "Let's make something crystal clear, Ms. Mullins. This man is not a lawyer. And if you knowingly brought someone here pretending to be one, you're in for a lot more than a lost case." Corinne swallowed hard. "But Your Honor, my neighbor, she ruined everything. The fence, the—" "Ma'am," Judy snapped, "you're not the victim of property damage. You're the architect of deceit." The camera panned to the defendant, Angela Harris, a quiet, middle-aged woman clutching a folder. She looked terrified but relieved that the spotlight was shifting. Judge Judy turned to her. "Ms. Harris, tell me what happened." Angela's voice trembled. "Your Honor, she's lying. I didn't damage anything. I have pictures and messages showing she gave me permission to remove that fence. It was on my side of the property." Corinne slammed her hand on the desk. That's a lie she's twisting. Ms. Mullins, Judy snapped, if you interrupt me again, I'll dismiss your case with prejudice. The audience gasped softly. Corinne froze, chest rising and falling quickly. Angela continued. She even told me she wanted to split the cost later, but when I refused to pay for her fancy new fence, she started sending threatening messages. Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. Threatening messages. Angela nodded, sliding papers forward. Right here, Your Honor, she said if I didn't pay, she'd make me regret it. Corinne shook her head wildly. Those are out of context. Judy held the papers up. It says right here, you'll pay one way or another. I have friends who know how to handle people like you. She lowered the paper. Do you often threaten your neighbors, Ms. Mullins? Corinne's voice dropped. That was a misunderstanding. Judy's tone was ice. It's about to be a lesson. The unraveling. Judy turned back to Richard Bell. Mr. Bell, if that's even your name, do you have anything to add? Richard sat stiffly. I think my client just wanted fairness. Fairness doesn't come from lies, Judy said coldly. And pretending to be a lawyer, that's not fairness, that's fraud. She gestured to the bailiff. Take note of this man's full name and ID. We'll be verifying his credentials after court. Richard's face turned pale. He muttered, this isn't necessary. Oh, it's absolutely necessary, Judy replied, because I don't like people who waste this court's time with theatrics. Corinne suddenly stood. This is ridiculous. I came here for justice, not humiliation. Judy leaned forward. Then you should have told the truth. The silence that followed was heavy, like the air itself knew what was coming. Corinne's shoulders slumped, her fake confidence cracked like glass under pressure. She sat down slowly, eyes wet with panic. The confession. Ms. Mullins, Judy said firmly, I'll give you one chance to explain why this man is pretending to represent you in court. Corinne's voice trembled. He said he could help me win. He's my boyfriend. The crowd gasped. Judy's eyes widened slightly, just enough to show disbelief. Your boyfriend? Corinne nodded. He used to work at a law firm. He knows how these things go. Richard looked down, defeated. I used to be a paralegal, Your Honor, not a lawyer. So you knew you weren't licensed, Judy said, and yet you still presented yourself as legal counsel. He didn't answer. Good, Judy said, because silence says plenty. Corinne buried her face in her hands. I just wanted her to pay for what she did. I thought if we looked professional, you'd take me seriously. Judy's voice softened, but her words didn't. You thought deception would buy you credibility. It doesn't, it buys you consequences. The setup for Carme. As Judy reviewed the evidence, something unexpected happened. Angela, the quiet defendant, spoke again. Your Honor, she said softly, there's one more thing. Judy looked up. Go ahead. Angela pulled out a small USB drive. I recorded the conversation we had 2 weeks ago when she came to my house. Corinne froze. You what? Angela continued. I did it because I was scared. She threatened me that day. The bailiff plugged the drive into the monitor. The courtroom screen flickered, then came Corinne's voice, loud and clear. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Corinne sat frozen, realizing her web of lies was collapsing from every direction. The fake lawyer, the false claim, the threats, all now documented, recorded, and witnessed. Judge Judy adjusted her glasses, eyes locked on the trembling pair. We're not done here, she said coldly. I've seen arrogance before, but yours, Ms. Mullins, comes with a price tag Karma will collect personally. The courtroom felt heavier now. Every whisper had stopped. Every eye was locked on Corinne and on Richard, the man who pretended to be her lawyer. Judge Judy's gavel rested quietly on her desk. She didn't need to slam it anymore. Her silence did the work. Corinne's hands were trembling. She looked around as if there might be a way out, but there was. The courtroom walls felt closer now, the fluorescent lights colder. Judge Judy finally spoke, her tone low but sharp. Ms. Mullins, you've wasted this court's time, insulted the system, and tried to manipulate the truth. Now tell me, why should I believe anything you say? Corinne stammered, because I just wanted fairness. She ruined my property. Judy raised a brow. Fairness? You faked a lawyer, lied under oath, and threatened your neighbor. That's not fairness, that's theater. The audience murmured again, a few people even shook their heads. Richard shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Judy turned her gaze toward him like a spotlight. "Mr. Bell," she said, "you claim to be a lawyer, you even introduced yourself as one in front of the court clerk. Do you realize how serious that is?" Richard swallowed. "Your Honor, I didn't mean to deceive anyone, I was just trying to help her." "Help her," Judy repeated. "By committing a misdemeanor, impersonating an attorney is a crime, sir, and doing it in my courtroom, that's stupidity with a tie on." The audience chuckled softly, but Judy's glare silenced them instantly. Richard lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry, Your Honor." "Don't apologize to me," Judy said coldly. "Apologize to the justice system you thought you could fool." The real victim speaks. Judge Judy turned back to Angela Harris, the defendant. "Ms. Harris, you've been patient. Tell me exactly what happened that led to this so-called property damage." Angela opened her folder, her voice steady but tired. "She wanted to build a fence between our properties. We both agreed to split the cost, but when the contractor came, she had him move the fence 2 feet onto my side so her yard looked bigger." Judy's eyebrows rose. 2 feet. Angela nodded. "When I found out, I told her I wasn't paying for it. That's when she started threatening me." She handed over photos, fence lines, property maps, receipts. Every detail was organized and clean. "Looks like you did your homework," Judy said, scanning the papers. "Yes, Your Honor," Angela said softly. "I just wanted peace." Karen suddenly snapped. "She's lying, she's manipulating." "Ms. Mullins," Judy interrupted, her voice cutting through like a blade, "you've spent this entire case manipulating. Sit down." Karen sat, glaring at Angela through tears of frustration. The smugness was gone, what remained was raw panic. The turning tide. Judy looked back at the paperwork. "Ms. Harris, you even have the property survey here, and according to this, that fence was never on her land." She raised her gaze. "So Ms. Mullins not only built on your property but then tried to sue you for damages." Angela nodded. "That's right, Your Honor." Judy closed the file slowly. "Well, isn't that poetic?" The audience began to murmur again. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The woman who cried victim was the one trespassing all along. "Ms. Mullins," Judy said, "I'm awarding $0 in your favor. In fact, I'm considering counterclaims from Ms. Harris." Karen's jaw dropped. "Counter what?" "Counterclaims," Judy repeated, "for emotional distress, false accusation, and property interference." Karen shook her head frantically. "You can't do that." "Oh, I can," Judy said, "and I will." She turned to Angela. "Do you have an amount in mind?" Angela hesitated. "Honestly, I just want the fence moved back and my name cleared. I'm tired of the threats." Judy nodded. "You'll get both." The exposure. Judy signaled to the bailiff. "Mr. Bayed, please verify this gentleman's credentials." The bailiff nodded, stepping out briefly, then returned within minutes. "Your Honor," he said, "we checked the California bar database. No record of a Richard Bell licensed anywhere in the state or in New York." A hush fell over the courtroom. Karen's mouth opened slightly, but no words came. Judy leaned forward. "So not only did you lie, Ms. Mullins, you enlisted someone to impersonate a lawyer, and that someone doesn't even exist in any legal database." She paused. "Tell me, Mr. Bell, what did she promise you in return?" Richard's voice cracked. "She said she'd pay me half of whatever she won. She said it was easy money." Judy's tone hardened. "Easy money? You were about to commit a felony for half of a fantasy settlement." He looked down ashamed. Judy sighed. "You know, I've seen liars, manipulators, and con artists, but rarely do they walk in smiling and expect applause." She turned to Karen. "Ms. Mullins, you've just demonstrated the difference between confidence and arrogance, and now you'll learn the price of both." The verdict. Judy straightened the papers in front of her and spoke clearly for the record. "Case dismissed with prejudice. Plaintiff's claim is denied. Defendant's counterclaim for $1,000 in emotional distress is granted. Plaintiff and her companion are to vacate the courtroom immediately after this hearing, and Mr. Bell will be referred for further investigation." Karen's eyes filled with disbelief. "No, you can't do this," she started it. "Enough," Judy's voice thundered. You walked into my courtroom with lies, intimidation, and a fake lawyer. This isn't a game, this is real life, and in real life, karma doesn't care how confident you sound. The gavel came down once, echoing like a thunderclap. Karen slumped into her chair, defeated. Richard stared blankly at the floor. Angela, trembling slightly, let out a breath she'd been holding for weeks. Judy gathered her papers. Justice served, she said quietly. Next case. Eerie karma. Weeks later, what happened in that courtroom spread online like wildfire. A spectator had uploaded clips of the exchange to social media. Within hours, the video was trending. Woman brings fake lawyer to court, Judge Judy exposes both. It was everywhere. Comment sections flooded with disbelief, laughter, and outrage. Karen's smirk, frozen in one screenshot, became a meme overnight. But karma wasn't done with her yet. After the court, a month later, Karen received a letter in the mail, a bill from the county's legal department. The state had opened an investigation into unauthorized legal representation under her name. If proven, she could face fines exceeding $10,000. The irony was bitter. She came to court trying to make money and left owing more than she'd ever hoped to win. Meanwhile, Richard, or Mr. Bell, was summoned for impersonation charges. He pleaded guilty to avoid jail time and was sentenced to 200 hours of community service at a public defender's office. And Angela? She got her fence moved back, her property restored, and her peace of mind returned. The neighbors even started calling her the woman who outsmarted a scam. Karen's breaking point. One rainy evening, Karen sat at her kitchen table surrounded by unpaid bills and unopened letters. The world that once revolved around her confidence now spun with consequences. The phone buzzed with notifications, messages, comments, and videos mocking her. She turned on the TV, only to see a news segment replaying her courtroom meltdown. She muted it and stared out the window. For the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel peaceful, it felt heavy. A knock came at the door. It was the landlord. "Rent's overdue again, Ms. Mullins," he said. She nodded weakly. "I know, I'm working on it." The door closed and she whispered to herself, it wasn't supposed to go like this. But that's the thing about lies, they don't collapse all at once. They unravel piece by piece, until there's nothing left to hold. The moral reckoning. Months later, Judge Judy was asked in an interview about that case. The reporter laughed. "Did you really catch someone pretending to be a lawyer?" Judy smiled slightly. "You don't need to catch liars, you just give them enough time, they expose themselves." She paused before adding, "Truth has a way of echoing louder than any lie ever could." Final scene: the echo of justice. Karen eventually moved away, leaving behind the neighborhood where it all began. Her social circle vanished, her reputation buried under internet jokes and legal fines. But Angela, the woman who stayed quiet, who never raised her voice, who trusted truth over ego, lived peacefully. Her garden grew back, the birds returned, the fence stood exactly where it belonged. And every time she passed it, she smiled, not out of victory but out of relief. Because justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through the cracks of karma. And in that courtroom, it whispered loud enough for the whole world to hear.